What's up? Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Thank you. I told you that 2023 was going to be a bad year for the left, lads, and it has continued to be a very bad year for these people. So much so now that we're after seeing a sitting TD, a member of the Dáil, an elected representative, allegedly, speculatively, totally and utterly implode on social media. Now, this is the important part of being on social media, that you can see these type of responses. Now, if you are not on social media, I would encourage you to just start an account and get on here, just to see exactly what's going on. You will get the hang of it very quickly. But in the meantime, I am going to bring you information like this that you are not seeing on a daily basis. You are not seeing this from the mainstream media. You will see it from me because I have a vested interest in this country. I love this country and I want to see this country prosper and succeed, and for future generations of Irish people to do the same. People here on the left, on the other hand, seem to want to do everything else but that. You've got Gannon TD, who has 22.7k followers on this platform. Nearly 23,000 people follow Gannon, and he has only got 253 likes in this post with 51.3k views. You have over 50,000 people viewing this post and only 253 said, yeah, I like what he's saying here. That's not good. Tonight we have a special report on recent protests in Ireland, says RTE. Now, an awful lot of people, my generation in particular, have zero interest in what RTE say and do because we are wise as to what they want to do and what they have been doing. Older generations, of course, know the same, but it has taken a little bit longer for the general population to figure that out. But thankfully, people are turning against it. Staff at pharmacies and libraries have had to deal with groups entering their workplaces and making unfounded accusations. Well, that's untrue. Because when you're talking about the Voldemorts that you're going to talk about here, you have companies with massive fines for criminal behaviour in history. And you think that the people that were sceptical about that are bad guys? Come on. Now you're not even talking about RTE. You're not talking about the youth with the case of the suddenlies, or people in general that are just gone suddenly after a short illness. All this sort of terminology that's being used. You just had a counting clock you did there over the last couple of years for people with the sniffles. But people that are just dropping, nah, don't worry about that at all. Are you going to look into what actual doctors, actual scientists are saying about what is happening with people now? Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about the fact that Ireland has the third highest cancer rate in the world? Do you want to talk about that? No? Okay, you don't. Well, that's very interesting, that. Or child protection. Child protection, now that's an interesting word and phrase to use because Gary Gannon here is part of the Social Democrats. Now, what were the Social Democrats up to recently? Oh, that's right, they had Owen Hanley on their books. Now, if you haven't seen what went on with Owen Hanley, I'm surprised there hasn't been a public investigation and indeed arresting of Owen Hanley to question him as to what went on there. There was a public accusation made by a male to say that he was groomed while underage by Owen Hanley. That was the accusation that was made. Gary Gannon has also shared tweets with Councillor Anthony Flynn on Twitter. Now, I wonder what happened with Anthony Flynn. Anyway, Gary goes on to say, in reality, just a few dozen thugs with an iPhone and hatred for themselves more than anything else. Anybody with a lisp that's listening to this that's on our side of the fence, I do apologise, but to be honest with you, a lot of the people that are on the other side that are speaking with their forked tongue behind their mouth there with these lisps, they all seem to roll the same way, and it's never for the benefit of this country, in my humble opinion. I knock at doors throughout central Dublin a couple of times a week, and it's a rarity to find anyone who remotely shares their views of the world. Ireland is full of decent people. Now, that's what these people like to do. They like to throw out the word solidarity. They like to throw out the word decent. And what that is used is, it is used as a weapon. They use the likes of words as weapons because they are trying to say, well, if you don't agree with me, then you are obviously an indecent person. So, what happened from here? Gavin Pepper, who has become well known from speaking at the local rallies that have been happening, particularly as it pertains to unvetted foreign guys coming into communities and hanging about harassing the locals. Of course, if you notice that and talk about that, you're being called a far-right racist bigotophobe online and by an awful lot of these people in the government and on mainstream media. So Gavin Pepper, who has a considerable smaller amount of followers here on Twitter, has gained 222 likes on his post, and yours truly has liked that, of course, with 4,969 views. He says, "Are you having a laugh? You're hated in the area. You turned on your own. You have no chance. If you got elected, it would be the biggest election rig in Irish history. You Murphy, Barrett, Kenny, Shortall and many others are history. Your gravy train is coming to an end." Now, Gary responded to that and said, "Pathetic little man." So Gavin there, I just wanted to show you, has 2,010 followers and has just about, he's getting closer to it, he is nearly ratioing a sitting TD. That's why these people are panicking. And power doesn't panic. These people are afraid. He says, "Pathetic little man, all that shouting because you have nothing worthwhile to say." 109 likes. That's a weird one there, isn't it? You've got Toby in here, says, "Yes, Ireland is full of decent people and the majority disagree with you. You're not a decent person. Soon you'll be able to ignore this fact any longer." So 75% of people think that the government have made a complete hames of this immigration policy. You've got the Irish gay here, Mick Braz, who says, "Social Democrat councillor Owen Hanley groomed underage boys in the youth wing of the party and you and your ilk are still trying to cover that up. You all found out, let him continue to work, and one of the things he voted on in that time was regarding child safety. None of you are decent." With 319 likes, 4,756 views. So that is the most important thing when you're looking at social media, is there are more people now getting more likes than the sitting TD themselves when they have more followers, allegedly. Now, when I say allegedly, an awful lot of these followers don't seem to turn up regularly for these people. They seem to actually be very quiet, and an awful lot of these comment boxes seem to go the same way. Recently, Paul Murphy has went on a blocking spree because of the prolific names that have been commenting towards him with regards to his policies and what he's trying to push forward. Blocking spree abound for that. What I want to do here by showing you these replies is show you the type of way that Gary Gannon spoke towards Gavin Pepper, and this has even been picked up by Gript Media. They wrote an article about it because they were even looking at this and going, wow, this is a sitting TD behaving like this. A lot of people have been calling into question the conduct of TDs and indeed senators over the last number of years, even more so than the last number of decades, because now it's becoming more apparent than ever that these people in these positions have nothing but contempt for the Irish people. And what they do ultimately fear is the Irish people starting to take their positions. You see, people like this guy, Gary Gannon, have a grandiose opinion of themselves, and what they think is that they are a higher being than you. That is completely and utterly untrue. These people love to give themselves titles and walk around with little letters beside their names here, like Gary Gannon, and say, "Oh, this is who I am, and this is where I am, and this is how I do things." No, you are just an individual like anybody else, and Gavin Pepper's opinion holds as much weight as yours. And in fact, it is becoming more supported than yours, Gary. And when you see people losing power and losing control and all of this stuff slipping away, you then see statements like these from Gary. Gary says to Gavin Pepper, he says, "Keep going, you little creep. I'm not hard to find, slimy little cretin." Now, was he making those sort of statements publicly towards Owen Hanley or Councillor Anthony Flynn? I don't think so. I don't think there was any statement made. Has there been a statement made at all? So he's aiming this sort of language at Gavin Pepper. Now, Gavin Pepper isn't part of the government. He's not a decision maker or anything whatsoever. All he's doing is standing up at protests, and he is talking about what's going on and what's very clear for us all to see. But Gary doesn't like that, because what happens here is he's shining a light on the ineptitude and indeed lack of care that people like Gary Gannon are showing towards the Irish people. Gavin says, "This is hate speech from a TD to a concerned parent. Now you all know the corruption going on. Your days are numbered, Gary. Your community hates you." So this is going to be interesting, because these people in the government have voted for a hate speech bill. Now, as I've said beforehand, there is more of us than there is of them. And if you want to play by those rules, well, people are going to use those rules against you. Very interesting. But the lack of care from Gannon is very evident here. And it also shows you the two, I would suppose, tier law system that we have here in Ireland. I mean, Leo Varadkar was under criminal investigation. That didn't seem to go anywhere. What about all of the stuff for the last couple of years? Has anybody been investigated for that? No, nothing. Anybody been brought in front of the likes of Vanguard Síochána and questioned for what has happened there? No, nothing. Weird, that one. So, again, Gavin gets 134 likes on his post with 4,451 views. And here's Gannon's response. That's nearly 11,000 views on this. He's gotten 84 likes. He's gotten less than Gavin. That's impossible, is it not? How is that possible? It's showing you now, through numbers like these, that these people like Gary Gannon aren't as popular as they like to say they are. You hear an awful lot of bluster from the likes of the so-called opposition in the Dáil. A lot of their numbers are low. Keep an eye on that. Gary then says, I walk around Dublin 1, 3, 7 and level every single day of my life, and I've never met anyone who knows you. Now, this is the important point, and I suppose it's an interesting view into the psyche of Gannon. I'm walking around these places and nobody says your name to me. That's what you guys need to start doing. When you see Gannon out there, start talking to him about Gavin Pepper, and that's going to put the frighteners up him, because he's going to go, uh-oh, this is transferring over into reality. And it is transferring over into reality, because as I said, how do you get more likes than a sitting TD? I honestly believe that you're a toad, Gavin, if you believe that constitutes hate speech. Ring the Garda, creepy little thing like you. Again, was that energy there for Owen Hanley? Was that energy there for Councillor Anthony Flynn? I don't think so. I find that very weird. And to be quite honest with you, I think now at this point in time, like Gavin is saying, unless there is a serious fix on the cards, it would be very difficult for a guy like this to retain his position. But I suppose we will see in the next election, and this is why it is important to politically spearhead something towards the next election. I know an awful lot of people that are out there, and indeed there are some prominent figures that think the political aspect of these things mean nothing. They don't, because a lot of people would agree with the sense and the sentiment that if voting was to change anything, it'd probably be made illegal. Now I see that point, of course, as you know, but on the flip side, what it does is it makes these people do outrageous and crazy things that exposes it. So you've seen what's happened in America, you've seen what's happened in France, you've seen what's happened around the world in different places, and you say that's not there's no way that could be happening and that could be true. And that's what that forces it to do. It forces the machine to make these radical moves that just wake up people, and that's what we want to see. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that this is the type of behaviour fitting of a sitting TD? Do you think this is good conduct? Do you think that Gary Gannon has fully lost the plot as things stand? And a lot of people have been making suggestions about Gary's mental state when he was sending these tweets, and I suppose like anybody, you would have to question what's going on with tweets like this. But ultimately, as I said beforehand, power doesn't panic, and this seems like a guy that is very upset and very panicked. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel, and I'll talk to you later. Good luck.